How do I qualify for a home loan? So let's talk a little bit about home loans and how they work. First thing to know is not all debt is bad debt. There is such a thing as good debt, like what we use to buy assets, like real estate and businesses. The goal of good debt is to purchase things that go up or appreciate in value, which increases our wealth over time. Bad debt is loans we use to purchase things that go down in value. Whether we're talking about good debt or bad debt though, we should definitely treat all debt with a healthy respect, okay? Even loans to buy good investments can sometimes lead to financial problems if we don't have the proper knowledge base to begin with. Now, qualifying for a home loan is all about preparation. Starting with a sensible budget plan to avoid getting into bad situations is definitely important. So figure out how much you can comfortably afford on a mortgage payment by carefully reviewing your budget, okay? Now there are 5 main areas that lenders evaluate or look at to make an approval decision for a home loan. The number one thing, of course, is credit. So let's talk about qualifying for a home loan. So the number one thing that home loan lenders look at is your credit history, okay? We talked some about credit in previous lessons. Now, although you may qualify for some loans with bad credit, this is dealing with mortgages or home loans, you'll end up paying a whole lot higher of an interest rate, which means higher payments. So definitely be careful before accepting a high-cost home loan. They are out there, and sometimes it could be the most expensive thing you could ever sign up for. Now, the second thing to look at is very similar to a car loan, is something called the debt-to-income ratio. Okay, this is very important for home loan lenders. And basically what they're looking at is how much money do you make compared to your bills. They want to be sure that you make enough money to make all your monthly payments comfortably and have some money left over. So if you make $4,000 a month, but your monthly mortgage payment would be $3,800, that's not going to look good for you because you're only leaving about $200 for other stuff. And we all know that when you have a house and a life, you still have to eat too. That's not going to be enough room for you to comfortably have that home. Now, the lender could question whether you could repay the loan in that type of a circumstance. So let me just write that down. If you have $4,000 in income, okay, and your mortgage payment is going to be $3,800, that does not look good. Either your mortgage payment has to come down, you're trying to buy too much house with this mortgage payment, or you need to be able to prove higher income. Okay, so one of those two things need to happen. Another very important area that we're looking at is liquid assets. This is what lenders look at, okay? So that basically means how much cash do you have on hand, like money in a checking account or a savings account that you could use if you needed to. Lenders want to be sure you have enough cash on hand to cover your payments for at least a few months, sometimes 3 months, sometimes more than 3 months. But to be safe, it's best to have at least 6 months of payments set aside in addition to your down payment before you buy real estate, okay? The fourth thing that the lender is going to look at is something called equity, okay? Equity is basically the value of the property minus any other debts against it. Okay, so if you're qualifying for a loan, equity is basically how much of a down payment you're putting down. The higher your down payment, the easier it's going to be to qualify for that loan. So let's say you're trying to buy a house that's worth $100,000. Okay? If you have $20,000 to put as a down payment, that is fine, okay? If you have even more than $20,000, let's say you have $35,000, the more that you can put down as a down payment, the better and easier it's going to be for you to qualify for that loan, and you're going to end up saving money on interest because you could end up getting a lower rate as well. And the number five thing is your collateral. Okay? Now, this is the asset. This is exactly, if you're talking about a home loan, the home property itself is the collateral for the loan. So that means, what is it the actual lender owns until the mortgage gets paid off in full? If you're talking about real estate, then real estate is considered a pretty stable and secure asset that banks like to have in place of a loan. Cars may be a little bit different. We already talked about how credit cards don't have anything backing them up. So the collateral is very important. If you default on the loan or you stop paying the mortgage payments, the lender will take back the property. Because you know this, you're going to end up avoiding paying way too much for a home loan. You're going to have the right amount of money saved up for your first home purchase, and you're putting yourself in a financial situation to enjoy your living situation with as little stress and anxiety as you possibly can. Many people have lost their homes in the last few years because they didn't take the time to plan and prepare themselves and have a budget. They lost their life savings, and with that, many of them lost their self-respect and dignity as well. You can avoid all these bitter experiences by preparing properly for your first home purchase. Thank you.
Okay.